Today, the first stage of the Vuelta a España hit the streets of Monaco. It's actually the only city who has hosted all 3 Grand Tours. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get down to the racing. Today's stage was short, flat, but somewhat technical. Individual time trial covering 9.4 kilometers. Today, Pogačar, surprise, surprise, took the win. Closely, very, very closely, followed by Ethan Hayter. Third was Josh Tarling, which, under the circumstances, is more than impressive. I can't even imagine what him and his family must be going through. So, unbelievable to be on the start line, and what an amazing performance. And I have to give a quick shout out for 4th place, Callum Finlay, the Scottish rider, who I used to work with on Trinity Racing, an under-23 team. For the Love of Cycling is sponsored by Science and Sport, the fuel of choice for some of the leading riders in the Vuelta over the last 40 years. Science and Sport developed the first specially formulated recovery drink, the first isotonic gel, and the first dual-source carb fuel, innovations that have transformed cycling nutrition. It's the official sports nutrition partner of British cycling, supporting community cycling clubs right through to Olympic champions, as well as over 400 elite athletes and teams worldwide. Science and Sport, fuel trusted by champions since 1992. So joining me on the podcast today is none other than 5-time Vuelta a España stage winner, Mr. David Millett. How are you, David?
I'm good. Thank you for getting the 5 stage wins in. I was kind of going to try and throw it in myself, so you saved me.
Well, you're very, very modest. You're the opposite of me. Sometimes when I look actually what you did in your career, I'm a bit like, why do we even mention the odd win in the Dauphiné over and over again?
I'm so pleased in Vuelta a España. I love this race. I think it's
amazing,
just,
isn't it?
It's such a good race. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I kind of forget how much I love it, and then I watch it. And we were messaging while we were watching it, and just saying just how kind of zen it is. There's something about it, even kind of in the Grand Départ. It's got all the status. It's got the kind of the vibes, because it is ASO. It's Tour de France owned, but there's just something about it. And I think that also you could feel it from the riders as well. There was none of that stress.
It's just so chill, isn't it? We're talking about actually the crowds in Monaco. We expected, if you compare it, if the Tour de France was starting there, it'd be a completely different story. But then we came full circle to the point that that's actually why we love the Vuelta. Yeah,
I mean, it's cool. But I think Monaco is an exceptional location. I think it's in the sense that it's difficult to get to. I mean, and especially when it's all closed off like it was. I mean, at the best of times, it's not the easiest place to get to. And I think, but, it had the vibes. I was watching it, kind of turned it on at the beginning. And the most exciting thing for my son, Archie, was the fact that it was the F1 circuit. It was like, this is
it was
mega.
quite cool.
It was very cool. The course itself, I mean, 9.4 kilometers, that's another thing, is I kind of miss prologues kicking off Grand Tours. There's something quite sort of ceremonial about it, the sort of vibe of it. What?
The winner from the previous year wearing the jersey at the start of the prologue. But anyway, David, before we really dig deep into today's stage, I want to quickly ask you about your first Vuelta win in 2001, which was a very similar stage to the individual time trial, 12 kilometers. Did you expect to win it, or was it one of those?
I was the favourite to win it. Yeah, I was a favourite. It was in Salamanca, and I'd crashed in that year's Tour de France prologue, where I'd gone in again as the favourite, but I'd taken too many risks and crashed, and then I ended up, that was the only Tour de France I packed. And then I came to the Vuelta, and it's a long story, the circumstances, but I remember I've never been so nervous, in that sense. And I think it was the first time I'd come...
That you knew you could do it.
I knew I was expected to do it. The year before the 2000 Tour de France, I turned up there and I'd won the prologue, the time trial on the first day, but it was unexpected, so I had none of the pressure. And I turned up to 2001 Vuelta, and it was the first time I had that real pressure where I also knew I could do it. When I'd been in the Tour de France like 6 weeks before, I knew I couldn't do it, but I had all the pressure, so it was totally different. And because I wasn't firing on all cylinders. But then and I remember that Salamanca course, it was nuts. I couldn't stop sleeping the days before, which you know me. And I was just like totally
Was it more
shut
nuts
down.
than today?
No, it wasn't technical. It was kind of Salamanca Avenue, but it did a very similar thing. It came down a fairly technical. It did have a technical descent because I remember I was so sketched out and so scared of losing that I didn't take many risks. And I got a vague memory in my head that I got to the intermediate halfway point and I was like 14 seconds down, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, because that's quite a lot in 6K.
That's a lot. But then it kicked up and kind of dragged all the way back to the finish. And I brought all the time back on the way out to the finish because then it was just, I didn't have to corner much anymore. But yeah, that was amazing. And it was, my first Vuelta and like the Tour, first day you got the leader's jersey. So, and I think that's where I learned I loved the Vuelta because you had none of the kind of the peripheral kind of stress of it. You could just go there and race.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you could. That's exactly the word. It's pure. Yeah. You could just go there and be a bike racer and not have to deal. And even when I was in the leader's jersey, it's just everything about it felt fun. So that was my first experience, and it kind of set the tone for I'd always go to I was one of the few riders that would go to the Tour de France to do well, then want to go to the Vuelta. I was like, I now want to go to the Vuelta and have fun, and I'd skip all the kind of the August post-tour
and
crits.
Just race your bike.
Just race my bike, and
it's crazy that actually I've never heard that story. Bear in mind, we spent the last 7 years, a month together every year for the past 7 years, and you've never even said that. For those of you who don't know David's time trialing palmarès, he's actually recorded 51 top 3 finishes, right?
That's right, yeah.
Wait for it. 19 wins, 20 second places, and 12 thirds, including 14 Grand Tour time trial podiums.
Huh? Thanks,
and the cherry on top is 3 World Championship podiums. Doesn't get much better than that.
Well, it does, but it's
not really.
I'm pleased with it. No, looking back. Yeah.
Well done, David. Enough.
Thanks, Pete. This is a great episode
we've
so
heard
far.
Enough of that. We've heard enough of that. Yeah. So into today.
It was a damn cool prologue. I thought it was like mega. It was like a computer game, and I
was just about to say that. It was like Need for Speed.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I said, not only the F1 elements, but going through the Circus Marquis, the tunnels, the weird kind of U-turn, the crossing on the road, the times that like cycle paths. It was just looked brilliant.
I struggled to get my head around it, to be honest. Like I couldn't fathom where they quite were on the course.
No,
I couldn't really fathom who was on a good ride.
Yeah,
because it was so technical. You were just watching people corner all the time. Basically, it was really strange to watch. You know, like usually when you watch a time trial, you can see who's on one corner. You know? But there was just no real signs of that. I think it came down to obviously like power, but it was who executed the corners the best, basically, which is why you're seeing like a few, I wouldn't say random names, but a few names like Callum Thornley, for example, you wouldn't expect maybe to get in the top 5 in a Vuelta time trial.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was...
He nailed it.
He nailed it. I mean, I think he was the first one where you saw, and just like you were saying, it's really hard to perceive who was going well, apart from in the cornering. And Callum Thornley was the first one where I was like, oh God, he's just going for it. And in his post-race interview, he said he'd done recon 6 times, which was also the interesting thing, because how many riders on the start list, Pete, live in Monaco?
So out of the 184 riders, around 60.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Monaco, which is a lot. But then how do you recon that course?
That's what I was about to say.
When the roads are open, you know?
And they're going down the opposite side of the road, and they were going cut-throughs where different things. So yes, it was an advantage in certain ways, but actually it was just who had the discipline to go out there today when the barriers were up and just repeat it and go over and over it. And yeah, Callum Thornley was definitely one of those riders. And I mean, I don't know him that well. So his pedigree, Pete, I mean, you must know him a bit better.
Well, I followed him in the Baby Giro, let's call it a prologue, the first stage of the Baby Giro, which was also a time trial. It must have been 2020. When did I sign for Astana? 2023, I think, or 4, anyway. But he was exactly the same there, mate. Yeah. I was in the car just like, oh my God, so stressed. But it was just so smooth and so fast, and it was using every single part of the road. And I was just in awe, in the car. I was like, Jesus Christ, fair play. And he's a great guy, super humble, proper workhorse, work ethic. Yeah, he's got it all. I tried to get him to come to Astana when I signed for them, but
yeah, if we look at the top 10, because there's some, like you said, there's some surprises in there. There's Arthur Kluckers. I don't know much about Arthur Kluckers, although he's got a great name. Then he's Dutch. Then there's Finn Fisher Black, the Kiwi, who's in 9th. Wout van Aert in 8th, so respectable. But even when he started, he was 3rd last off. He's kind of still thought that maybe he'd be up for the win. Oscar Chamberlain, again, a young Aussie who kind of did a great ride, kind of a similar sort of build, going into my super kind of weird looking at riders' heights and weights. He's like 194 and 76 kilos, so he falls into the mold of the pure TT rider. Leo Bissiou, the Frenchman, did a great ride. Now, here's one that's gone under the radar. Christophe Laporte, 5th. So that they didn't even show him. They didn't show him. So Laporte, who's had a torrid time the last couple of years with illness. I mean, he's been racing really well in August, but getting 5th, that's super interesting because he is such a great rider, and he's dropped off the radar. So him getting 5th today is a huge result. And then we move into the British guys. This is where it's kind of pretty. It's
pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. There's Callum Thornley in 4th. Only 5 seconds down. Joshua Tarling in 3rd, 4 seconds down, who, as you said at the beginning, made the decision to race here. And for the dream was that he'd win it, and he came so close. But it was Ethan Hayter, his compatriot, who pipped him. But actually didn't pip him. It was 4 seconds Ethan Hayter took him by, which is significant when you look at those top 10 riders from Ethan Hayter down to 10th. There's only 7 seconds set between them. So, it's a really big ride Hayter did. But then Pogačar comes in and pips Hayter by 900ths of a second. And the Pogačar result, I didn't think he was going to win today. It's kind of the course was so.
You have to take a few risks. You have to.
Yeah, it was.
He didn't need to put it on the line, did he?
No, if you look at Ethan Hayter, Josh Tarling, Callum Thornley, they were willing to crash.
Yes, exactly.
This is their whole Vuelta España kind of pivots on.
But then
today.
we're talking about Pogačar and Ethan Hayter.
Yeah, it's true.
No disrespect to Ethan Hayter, but
there you go. Yeah, there
you go.
It's the Vuelta España.
So maybe Pogačar wasn't even taking any risks or pushing it. He's putting the power down and taking his time and staying safe through the corners, but he just has.
But it's pretty nuts extra gear. Because if you think about Pogačar as well, he's come off the Tour. He hasn't gone to altitude. He was roadside at the Tour de France Femmes. He's kind of been in Monaco chilling. Yeah. Maybe again, he's just mentally, he's just in a really good place. But I think what's going back to that kind of idea of records and things, he's never held a Giro. He almost did it, a leader's jersey from stage 1 to the end. And if ever there was the opportunity for him to do that, if the team was up for it, he could do it. Because tomorrow.
Do you think he's bothered about stuff like that?
No, I don't think he is at all.
I don't think he is either.
I think he'd happily lose a jersey for 10 minutes, like in the first week.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what I mean, is if he wanted to, he could. But yeah, so I think it was a really, really cool start to the race. And I think we should have more prologues, and especially courses like that.
We should.
Yeah.
Because it just brings in totally different riders that come into the mix that you wouldn't really expect, and it's
and bring back last year's winner rolling off the start ramp in the leader's jersey. God.
Someone please explain to me why anyone put a stop to that.
I don't know. I think it's when they stopped doing prologues. So they stopped doing prologues. Prologues were almost like bread and butter for Grand Tours. It was just like they happened. And then about 15, 20 years ago, they decided to put in occasional road stage. And obviously you couldn't, I don't even know if they, in those first attempts at it, they put the previous year winner in the leader's jersey on that first stage. Somebody will know that who's listening. But,
someone will.
But then I think that's when the trend bucked, and we've gone now back to this
Do you
kind of different way of doing it.
We absolutely love the prologue because for nostalgic reasons?
Maybe. That's a really good point. Yeah, both of our introduction to watching bike racing was the ceremonial prologue to Grand Tours and the pomp and kind of circumstance of it. So maybe. But there's nothing wrong with that, Pete.
Nostalgic or not, definitely the way to start a Grand Tour.
Undisputed.
It's class. It's unreal. Yeah, so I think what we can take from today is Pogačar's arrived, altitude or not altitude. He's here to do business. Some nice surprises. A few young riders up there. And I think we're going to have, hopefully, an exciting Vuelta. I'm quite intrigued to see how Mads Pedersen races the Vuelta. And also the guys who are really up for the World Championships. You know, do they go old school and look after themselves a bit, or do they not even think like that anymore? So be interesting to see how that unfolds as well. Let's fire over a question from Zero Fighter. He says, will any rider ever win all 3 Grand Tours in a single year? And would you want to see it done? I don't know why you wouldn't want to see it done, but would it cement Pogačar as the undisputable GOAT if he achieved it? Thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts are it would be something that no one would have attempted, because I think even the double, didn't Giro Tour double, is still considered such an exceptional thing, and it had almost been written off. And then Pogačar did it. And I think it's something he might want to do if he gets to that sort of point in his career. He is at the absolute kind of peak now. And with that peak, he'll want to continue his Tour de France dominance. And he's the big kind of monkey on his back is Paris-Roubaix. So I think they're going to be the kind of but if he gets to kind of 2-3 years down the line, if he just has to decide to want to do it. But that's a huge decision because I'm not sure mentally it would be good for him, because we saw him, I think we've learned that he just loves racing his bike and having fun. And Grand Tours are sometimes not so much fun, you know, in the sense that you have to switch into a defensive mode. We saw it again. I think he had fun this year because he had Del Toro there and the race itself. But going into a season to do all 3, I'm not sure it's something that he'd want to do. I think it would compromise too much else, but he could do.
Like you said, I don't think it's a physical. I think physically it's possible for Pogačar, probably no one else. But I think it's just, like you say, the mental side and the fun element of it, which he likes to have fun, doesn't he? You know? And I think for me, I was supposed to be I was, at the start of the season, I was going to do the Tour and Vuelta as a DS. And the thought of already being at the Vuelta now is just like, it goes fast. Those 4 weeks in between, they fly by. And think for the riders, you know, it's different for me. I can just come home and do what I want. But for those guys,
well, I think that's why the stars have aligned this year for because he needed to get the Vuelta a España on his palmares. You know, he needed, because he wants to tick off all the wins, and you know, to, as you said, to be in that undisputed category, he needs to do it. And I honestly don't think he's necessarily would have considered the Vuelta a necessity on his palmares.
No.
But I think the fact it started in Monaco this year, he's had such a great year. He had so much fun at the Tour.
It was a very different Tour to last year, wasn't it? I think that's the main take from it.
Completely.
You know, he would not be at the Vuelta if he went through, you know, a similar month that he did last year. But this year, it just...
Also, and here's a bit of a kind of, I wouldn't say it's a controversial thing to say. Is it a challenge for him to win the Vuelta? You know, is it kind of Paris-Roubaix, Milan-San Remo was like mission impossible. It kind of that motivated him to kind of doing the repeat Tour de France's.
He knows he can do it. But you have to remember, like, we're all human. You still got to get on your bike every day, clip in the pedals and go through it all, don't you? You know, so it's probably, I would say it's more just, I would say more mentally. You know, he doesn't need to do it. He doesn't have to prove anything. But it'll be interesting. I'm quite intrigued to see how he'll race it, and how his team will race it. One thing we need to mention, it'd be rude not to, is the recent announcement of Julian Alaphilippe's retirement.
Oh God, yeah.
We've seen it coming, but it was quite abrupt.
You know, there's one of the things I thought about that, and you know this as well, is how rapid that kind of fall from grace,
the decline.
Is. Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Once it starts,
it's really
snowball
difficult
effect, isn't it?
And I mean, hats off to him. And I think it says a lot about him as well, the fact that he's just done it quietly. And, you know, it's. I think he made the decision early on, but decided not to do any grandiose thing at the Tour de France and kind of sign off there and take all the glory, which is so surprising because we've always seen him as being this really flamboyant character who you would get the impression from that he loves the attention. But his retirement has been, it's not even necessarily official. I think he's put out a quote now, but it was just went wildfire today that it was kind of he's retired. But I haven't seen a like real full statement or anything. No. It's now being acknowledged everywhere. But yeah, and I think I find it really interesting. It's given a new depth to Alaphilippe because I think I've always loved him as a racer, and I think everyone has. But you kind of take for granted that style of racing requires a certain sort of personality, and he's gone and flipped that. He's just gone, you know what, I'm done now, and kind of I don't want the attention, which is
but I think
cool.
That too, Alaphilippe is. I think he's a couple, maybe 1 or 2 years younger than me, but I raced against him most of my career, and he is flamboyant, charismatic, and he is a character on the bike, but actually off the bike. He's just a humble, nice guy that you just enjoy going for a coffee or going for a beer with. He wouldn't talk about himself. And he's dead really, really chill. So I think...
well, there you go.
There you
Farewell,
go.
Adieu, Julian Alaphilippe.
Yeah, farewell.
Another one bites the dust.
They do. They
do. Should we look at tomorrow's stage, Pete?
We can look at tomorrow's stage, and please correct me on my pronunciation if I'm wrong. So it starts in Monaco and goes to Manos.
Yeah, that seems right, Pete.
Seems right. I mean, it's hard to get wrong.
I think
it's
a
long stage, 214 kilometers, which is quite long for the Vuelta.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not flat, which is no surprise because it's the Vuelta and Lille in Monaco. And it's almost impossible for it to be flat. So it's a lumpy stage, 3,400 meters elevation in total. And I guess the question on everyone's lips, David, is, like, we know how UAE rides. They let the opposite of how Ineos/Sky used to ride. They let the racing happen, then they figure out what to do, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So with that, could be an exciting first hour or two tomorrow.
I mean, I think it's going to be mega because they're climbing straight. There's no other way really to get out of Monaco properly.
No.
And they've got a 10K climb right at the beginning. So as you say, the racing can be on straight away. And it will be really interesting to see if UAE just do as you say and kind of almost treat it like a third week and just make sure there's no GC threats in there if Felix Gal slips in there or something. But I don't think any of those guys will. So I think there's a chance that, going back to just completely rip up what I was saying about Pogačar wanting to keep it, it would be a pretty big effort from the team to keep it tomorrow, considering that there's so few riders who can win tomorrow's stage. When you look at the 3,400 meters and then it's got to climb up to the finish. It's not a big climb, but it's enough, which reduces the number of riders who can win. So, I mean, it's all to play for tomorrow, and that makes it probably going to be one of the most exciting stage twos we've seen in a Grand Tour for a while.
I think so, and also the roads in and around Nice and Monaco, the proper racing roads, aren't they?
Yeah.
Up and down, left and right. Really, really good. They just evoke attacks, exciting racing, and also it's just the unknown because everyone's going to be back at the hotel tonight thinking, what are UAE going to do? What's going to happen? And no one knows, and it's just going to be, everyone will think the break will go to the finish, and the race could be on until Yeah, first, I reckon it'll take at least 50k.
Yeah.
For the
Good
break
times.
to go. You've got 8k out of Monaco, short descent. But yeah, exciting times ahead, I hope. I hope you don't just destroy the race. A lot to look forward to. What else is going on, David, before we say our farewells?
Not much. Just I'm actually going to go and watch the race on Monday, is my plan. Because it does 2 stages in France, and then it's skipping along to...
Andorra?
Yeah, not far. Well, it goes to Font-Romeu first, which is just on the eastern side of the Pyrenees, so it's got a stage that finishes there. So that's where I think I'll go up and watch it, go and ride up there with Archie. And then, yeah, so that's what's going on with me, Pete. I'm just going to see the race and talking to you and probably watching the race tomorrow.
Yep, I'll definitely be watching the race, that's for sure. And in case anyone's wondering why I'm hosting the podcast, and fret not, Ned will return, but he is currently at the Women's Tour of Britain, and he sent us in a report on what's been going on today's stage, which is stage 4. So here he is.
Hello guys. Hello Pete. Hello David. I'm in Hay-on-Wye in a car park. Everyone's ignoring me, it's great. The podium is underway for the end of stage 4. I've been to Hay-on-Wye before, by the way, but that's a whole other story that you're probably not interested in. But, don't want to flex, but I was once invited to the Hay-on-Wye Literary Festival. Sold out event. Just saying. Anyway, I hope you're well. Fleur Moors is just doing an interview at the moment. She's the best young rider. She rides for Lidl Trek. She went on the attack. She was off the front for 90 kilometres today. But the stage was won by Lorena Wiebes, who has now won 3 of the 4 stages that we've had so far. 1 stage remains. And we've got a leader, Kim Lecourt-Pinard, who took the race lead in fantastic fashion on the Great Orme climb in Llandudno yesterday. That was that amazing climb you might remember in 2021 where Wout van Aert and the recently retired Julian Alaphilippe did that battle, amazing battle that Van Aert won, and it completely scuppered his chances of winning the World Championships, by the way. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Kim Lecourt delivered a masterpiece on the Great Orme yesterday. It was a brilliant, brilliant attack. She's absolutely becoming my favourite rider in the women's peloton, the Mauritian champion. She took the race lead from Lorena Wiebes, who'd won the first 2 stages in the pouring rain in Cumbria, and then a filthy day. It always is whenever we go to Blackpool, where it rained and the race had to get neutralised and it was late getting started because a lorry had come off the road, and it was just one of those awful days. But a brilliant performance from Wiebes, who is now on career win, I think 136 or something insane, and she's won something like 56 or 57 of the last 58 bunch sprints that she's competed in. She's very good at riding a bike, but on the Great Orme stage she couldn't quite survive, even though she did a really good defensive ride. She's closed the gap to Kim Lecourt a little bit with the climb bonuses today, but I think with 1 stage remaining she won't be able to prize the general classification back her way. In the sprint today, from a reduced sprint, because she survived the climbs today, over 2,200 metres of climbing again. She did a really good ride, Wiebes, and survived with a group of 7 riders. That group grew a little bit. Kim Lecourt and Liana Lippert, first and second on GC, they attacked over the climb. Lorena Wiebes was in contact though, got back on, and from that moment on, foregone conclusion who was going to win the stage. So Wiebes won. That's my slightly haphazard summary of events here. This is my first time back at this race, which I love, by the way, in 10 years. I think the last time I came to this race, I was presenting for television, like I am on this gig, actually. And it was the year that Lizzie managed to crash after winning stage 1 and before she pulled on her jersey at the podium. She was helicoptered away to hospital, making a truly historic intervention. That's never happened before in the history of road racing or since. Anyway, she then went on to win it twice. So that's not bad, is it? And talking of Lizzie, she will be coming to join us all tomorrow, and we'll be able to sum up. There she is, Lorena Wiebes in her red jersey. That's the points competition jersey, by the way. She's absolutely smashed the points competition. Lizzie will be back there tomorrow to sum up everything a little bit more succinctly, with a bit more gravitas than this rather scrappy performance from me, standing in a corner of a car park talking to my own cell phone. But in the meantime, I'm going to sign off as if I was a News at 10 reporter. For the love of cycling, this is Ned Boulting in Hay-on-Wye.
Now it's time for you to get involved. Your chance to win a 3-month supply of Better Fuel from Science and Sport, the dual source revolution that changed cycling performance. Just post and share a photo of you and your bike on Instagram, tagging #Science and Sport and #ForTheLoveOfCycling, and telling us why you're inspired by the Vuelta. For the Love of Cycling is sponsored by Science and Sport, the fuel of choice for some of the leading riders in the Vuelta over the last 40 years.